Welcome in to High Tales of History. It's episode 107, and this is a history podcast in which two sisters get together, we get high, and we take a hazy trip through history. I am Laurel, the older sister. I was trying to think of like a cool way to do that from last.
The firstborn.
The firstborn. First of her name.
First of the line.
First of the line.
I mean, actually, that's true, dude.
I mean, dudette. Yeah. Who are you?
I'm just going to say it, though. Like, dude is a gender neutral term. Like, let's be all like, let's get one thing straight and two things gay right now. Dude is gender neutral, and I am going to die on that hill.
Yes. Also, I'm going to throw out there, girl is gender neutral. I love to girl the shit out of guys. It's so much fun.
Yeah.
And my guy friends will be like, girl, yeah, what?
Exactly.
Girl,
it's
yes,
not,
girl, what?
Yeah, it's like, it's a term of endearment. Like, if I'm leading you in with that, it's like, you are a part of my trusted circle, possibly my Council of Elrond. I'm never going to let it go. If you just don't like hearing Lord of the Rings, I'm sorry, but it's happening. Like, I'm obsessed.
First 2 minutes, and she's got her Lord of the Rings reference in. So that's
great. If I can get it out.
I love it. Love it. Bring it. Actually, hey, what's your name? We didn't introduce you yet.
Katie. I'm Katie, the younger sister. Also resident Lord of the Rings expert and fan.
There she is. The younger sister. Just my
working on a blue mullet.
There she
I am. Really I told her don't cut it. I'm gonna get a mullet. You're all gonna see it. It's gonna be a blue mullet.
Let's see the back.
I'm gonna live.
Let's have this for posterity. There we go.
That's all it is right now.
Really
so
good, actually, it's like such a good blue. And that's the thing, folks. If you're watching this, her hair is always much more vibrant in person. It's like she has the most amazing like pinks and purples and blues that are in her hair. She's like a goddamn mermaid.
Oh, I thank you. It's actually dark purple on the roots, and it's an electric blue on the ends. But I'm just waiting for the day when I can live my mulleted dreams. I'm looking.
Oh my gosh. Welcome to the Smoke Circle. Welcome to High Tales of History. Like I said, we get high, right? Whatever your choice of high is. It could be life. It could be wine, as I've nearly had a
Ironically,
whole
we talk importantly about history, though.
But we
love
to take the history seriously.
Seriously, yeah.
Yeah. We're history sluts, as we've said last week. We love it.
That's so true.
And we're glad that you are here in it with us. Episode 107. Yes. So, hey, if you're new here, welcome. It's like this is like the first time you are seeing us and hearing us. Sorry. But also, hey, welcome.
It doesn't get better from here, so I hope you like what you hear.
This is just a fever dream of history right here. But
truly.
So we've been doing this for a little over 4 years now. And in the past, we have had 2 stories of history. From history, I should say, per episode. And in season 6, what we've been doing is taking it one at a time, one sister to regale the other with a tale from history. Meanwhile, we still stay high throughout. And hey, speaking of, Katie, what's your high of choice today?
Water.
No, I know you just finished it, but go back to the amazing thing that you were drinking just a little while ago. She just finished it before we started recording, of course.
Oh, okay. Oh, my hot chocolate that I made.
Yeah.
So I made, it was, what is it? Silly Cow. It's the one in the little glass bottle. I tossed in the amount that you put in for like a mug of hot chocolate. And then I put in a little bit of cinnamon, allspice, guajillo chili powder, and then a touch of chipotle chili powder. Mix that in, and I put a good solid half a teaspoon of vanilla in, because vanilla with chocolate and spice is like, yeah, it's so good.
And folks, if you were here for the last episode, which I hope you were, you might be like, well, that sounds really familiar. And in which case I'd say, yeah, nothing has changed since the last episode in this episode, except our shirts.
Except our shirts.
So you get a slightly drunker Laurel, and in episode 107, in which I will be taking over, and because we decided it'd be really fun to just see if we can record 2 episodes in one go, and so here we are doing it.
Ta-da!
Ta-da! So episode 107's got a little more sillies to it. Sorry.
Katie switches from one favorite band t-shirt to the next. I like how I'm like, well, I'll just grab this one. This fucking works. It's the most Katie thing ever. I'm like, yeah, that checks out.
Well, folks, like I said, we've been taking one story at a time. Last week, Katie had the amazing story of Unsinkable Sam to bring us a little bit of levity, a little bit of good cat history. Who doesn't love a bit of good cat history? I'm also going to take it back to World War II with mine today.
Oh my goodness, we did it again.
What are we doing here? Here we go. World War II. Everybody settle in, grab your tea, grab some snacks, grab a glass of wine, or just fucking hit that bong, whatever it is that you want to do.
Your choice of relaxation.
Your choice of relaxation. Come settle in to the smoke circle. Folks, I have the pleasure and the privilege to present to you and celebrate with you some pure American badassery. At their final reunion,
is this a Dodge commercial?
Oh, yeah. Pure American badassery. Dodge Ram. At their final reunion in 2011, they were hailed by NPR as, quote, rock stars of American history. They were America's first Black military aviators, fighting fascism abroad while fighting racism at home. And they were the Tuskegee Airmen.
As soon as you said that, I was like, I know who we're talking about.
These bunch of badasses. Now, folks, I'm going to be taking you through the beginnings of the Tuskegee program, the inspirations for young Black pilots, their history, their training, what combat looked like for them in World War II, as well as the myths and misconceptions about the Tuskegee Airmen, and then finishing with their homecoming and their legacy. For sources, I use two of the most recommended books on the subject: Soaring to Glory, a Tuskegee Airman's firsthand account of World War II by Philip Handelman, written with Lieutenant Colonel Harry Stewart Jr. Also, The Tuskegee Airmen Chronology, a detailed timeline of the Red Tails and other Black pilots of World War II by Daniel Hallman, PhD. This was a really great book. So Daniel Hallman, PhD, Dr. Hallman, has since retired from the head of the Organizational Histories branch at the United States Air Force Historical Research Agency. Phew. So if you
That's a mouthful.
Right? I was like sweating as I'm reading that. So if you want to know anything about the Tuskegee Airmen, like who wasn't one themselves, then Dr. Hallman is your person. So he's gone through, and in fact, actually, in any of my sources from him, as well as this book, he's like written out. In fact, actually, like, look, I'll just show you a little. So this is the inside of the book. So he has the year in bold, 1942, and then like dates and like the records for each of the dates. So it's literally a timeline book. So it was really great to go through all my sources with this book and like compare notes, because there is a lot of stuff that history gets kind of murky about the Tuskegee Airmen. Additionally, I used a handful of articles from NPR, PBS, History.com, the Tuskegee Airmen Museum, in order to give maybe like a more concise and like podcast length appropriate history on the airmen, because there's a lot here. So I'm trying to keep it kind of concise here to give you the big picture.
All right, sources, hitting on the important points.
Right, because there's actually so much. Like I said, there's a lot of myths and misconceptions. You could actually spend a whole episode just talking about like what a lot of books, like historians and books will be like, this is what happened, articles. In fact, even some of the articles I have listed, I had to compare back to, you know, Dr. Hallman's work and be like, okay, what's actually the record here? So,
wow.
Do your responsible history. Because, yeah, there's even some stuff that gets perpetuated, even by generally like highly credible sources and people that like know about these things, but that gets repeated still. So folks, all that to say, I'm going to do the best I can with trying to give you the most accurate history I can, because there's a lot of stuff that gets in here that's not entirely accurate. All sources are listed in the show notes, though, of course, and I also will include a couple of articles from the National Park Services and MIT. I didn't use them as source material so much as I just thought it was good extra reading material for those who are interested. I feel like I'm slurring my speech a whole lot. Am I?
Not too bad.
Okay.
Not really.
Like I hear it and it's like really slurry. I'm like, oh,
I think you're just concentrating super hard on saying it all correctly.
Okay. It's good because my brain feels sober, but my mouth does not. So that's weird. Which is a weird place to be. You know what I mean? All right, so here we go, folks. We're going to jump in the Wayback Machine here. We're going to rewind it back to the early 20th century, December 17th, 1903, to be much more precise. And we're going to kerplunk ourselves down at Kill Devil Hills near Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. Get comfy, folks. Not only is it in the middle of December, but we are about to witness history. It's the airplane and the first successful flight from brothers Wilbur and Orville Wright. Like other technology in history, once the airplane existed and successfully worked, of course, its use expanded rapidly and globally, being used in war as early as 1911 and then fully armed with guns for World War II. World War I, I'm drunk. Moving forward into the 1930s, the 1930s are an absolute shit show because it is the Great Depression. And by 1939, Europe is like, well, 1939 is when World War II breaks out, but later in the year. But like Europe is teetering on this brink of war because that Adolf Hitler is a bad egg. And by bad egg, I mean sentient shit stain.
It sounds better in your radio announcer's voice, though.
Sentient shit stain, that Adolf Hitler. Now, America at this time is ranked about, I'm going to give the little seesaw hand, about, because some sources vary. They're about the 16th largest military in the world, which surprised me, right? I know Katie's also doing the eyebrows of surprise.
I was like, what?
Whoa,
America?
Okay, I thought we might have been a little bit further up there. Now, the Navy.
Like third.
Yeah. Their Navy, though, yeah. Their Navy's like, you know, people, because again, this statistic people are ranking, I should say, this people argue this one. But Navy-wise, like 2, you know, right behind Britain. Some people are going to say number 1, you know. But the rest of the branches, not so much. So that same year, 1939, the U.S. government has created the federally funded civilian pilot training program, which, though segregated, finally allowed Black Americans to train on combat aircraft and to learn how to fly in case of another war. Though African Americans served in the military in previous wars and conflicts, they were not allowed to be pilots. So World War I, we see the first use of airplanes, like in war at least. Not Black pilots, right? Well, at least not for America. There were Black pilots. There's even an American Black pilot, but he did not fly for America, and that's Eugene Bullard.
Didn't he fly for France?
He did, Eugene Bullard. What a badass that man is. I would love, he's on my list of stories to do. I wanted to talk about him a little bit tonight because he is really like a precursor for Black pilots, but like he deserves his own like pizzazz. So
he deserves his own episode.
That handsome ass man, the Black Swallow of Death, folks.
I'm in.
I'm in, right? Black Swallow of Death. I'm like, okay, all right. History slots, as we said last week.
All day, every day. All day, every day.
Oh, my Lord. Anyway, so in the U.S., though, there were no Black pilots until World War II. So, okay, just so we know. They served in other branches of the military, no pilots. And being a pilot, it's fucking cool, right? You get the cool uniform, you fly a plane, like, and honestly, there's a certain freedom to being in the sky. For Black folks in like Jim Crow America, the worst, like I can completely empathize with the thought of, get me the fuck out of here. Let me take to the skies and have freedom up there amongst the clouds and fly and soar. And this is actually a sentiment that is repeated over and over by various Black pilots of this time period. And in fact, the first Black pilot, full stop, man or woman, and as well as the first Native American pilot was Bessie Coleman. Ooh, I love her. I love Bessie Coleman, who I talk about back in episode 55. But she also had to go to France to get her license. But Bessie is frequently pointed to as the spark. She massively, massively inspired future pilots, namely Black pilots, right? Male or female, but women as well. Oh, there's the cat. She's
now she shows up.
Now she shows up.
Where were you during Unsinkable Sam, dog?
Dickhead.
What the hell?
Because
a whole episode late.
a cat, right? You can't tell a cat. A cat's like Gandalf. A cat, you can't, they neither arrive late or early. They
I am
arrive
never late.
precisely.
I only
Yes.
arrive precisely when I mean to.
Exactly. Cats. Unfortunately, in 1939, even though Black pilots were being trained in the civilian pilot training program, there were a lot of racist dinosaurs who were not okay with anyone serving in the military who happened to be Black, let alone as a pilot. Now, many of these opinions, as terrible as they are, stemmed from a survey conducted in 1925 by the Army War College, now called the Department of Defense. How about that? Titled The Employment of Negro Manpower in War. Now, this report states, quote, an opinion
Wow.
quote, an opinion held in common by practically all officers, right? It's a big statement there. Sorry. Quote, let me start that over without my snarky comments. An opinion held in common by practically all officers is that the Negro is a rank coward in the dark. His fear is of the unknown and unseen will prevent him from ever operating as an individual scout with success. His lack of veracity causes unsatisfactory reports to be rendered, particular on patrol duty. End quote. Fucking gross.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot I could
Yeah.
I was like, oh my.
I know. You just feel like you're getting slapped in the face with every bit of that. And that is actually really common.
The theoretical dick of racism just right in the face.
And this is something that's really common. I mean, fuck, girl. Let's talk about it. Not that much, but like, let's still talk about it. My story is supposed to be uplifting, but real quick. In the early 20th century, that not just the military had said things like that and had official, quote unquote, official reports like that. This was repeated in science and in different anthropology books and history.
It was treated like fact.
Yes, it was treated very much like fact.
It was treated like fact.
Let's measure the brain. The brain of one who is Black is smaller. It's not true, folks. Full stop. It's not true. That's not true.
Yeah. But they perpetuated myths that made, Black Americans look terrible.
Right. Exactly. And called it, quote unquote, science.
Science. Yeah. Exactly. Right. Yeah.
So unfortunately, this perpetuated these really deep systemic racist views that perpetuated through the military. Thankfully, Black-led organizations such as the NAACP or Black media outlets like the Chicago Defender, they were relentlessly fighting against racist opinions like this, and they were fighting ultimately for the inclusion and desegregation across all of America, and especially in the military. Like they did a lot of work with trying to fight against this propaganda until the military finally authorized a Black pursuit squadron in the U.S. Air Corps, which was the precursor to the Air Force, and they called it the 99th Pursuit Squadron in early 1941. Later that spring, FDR officially activated the all-Black World War II Fighter Squadron, which was the first step in the Tuskegee Airmen experiment. An experiment, you say? Yes, I do say. An experiment. It wasn't designed to fail, but it was expected to fail because they didn't think Black service members were anywhere near as brave or as smart or as capable.
I'm waiting for the part where this gets uplifting.
Well, we're getting there. Yeah, we gotta really show like the systemic bullshit.
It's kind of wild to me. It's like selflessly serving your country? Absolutely not. Your skin's not the right color. I am going to perpetuate all these myths that are based off of really shitty opinions, based on call them fact because nobody's here to tell me no. Sounds like a giant toddler. That takes a special kind of stupid, in my opinion, to have that low level of brain power.
Hating somebody because of their skin color is like showerless, I don't wipe my ass because it's gay behavior. So like I said, this is an experiment to be like, all right, well, what can Black service members do in that's equal to their white counterparts, right? You know what I mean? It's like, let's make an experiment. Let's see what they can do. And it was expected to fail, not designed to fail, but it was expected to fail. And on July 19th, 1941, 12 aviation cadets and one student officer, Captain Benjamin O. Davis Jr., handsome chap, Benjamin O. Davis, at least in this picture, he's Denzel Washington. He's handsome, he's cool, he's like just chill as fuck, right? That's me as the casting director for me, a 40-year-old white woman, as the casting director for the Tuskegee
Always been a big
Airmen.
fan of Michael B. Jordan, so just gonna.
Michael B. Jordan is also in here. Let me tell you, he's also in the casting list.
Oh, I'm in.
Okay,
He's got to be in the movie, man.
So here we go. The report down to the Tuskegee Institute, which is now the Tuskegee University, to start flight training as the first Black pilot candidates in the U.S. Air Corps. Bum, 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 bum. So, folks, let's talk about Tuskegee. Where is it? Where is it? Even if you live in the United States, you might not know exactly where it's at. And if you live outside of it, like if you know where Tuskegee is, like, well, I'm super duper impressed. But it's located in Alabama. We're talking deep South, folks. Deep South, deeply segregated, deeply in its Jim Crow.
There's more sugar than tea in their sweet tea. That's how deep South we are.
That's how deep South we are. There's so much sugar in that sweet tea. They say, hey, y'all, how's your mama doing? And all that. My family is, look, my paternal side of my family is Georgian back as far as possible. So like, yeah, I understand some sweet tea that rots your teeth out. And hey, y'all, how's your mama doing? But there they are, Tuskegee. So in the book Soaring to Glory, Lieutenant Colonel Harry Stewart Jr., he's actually like a real big name in the Tuskegee Airmen, Harry Stewart Jr. Slurring my speech a whole lot. Now he's from New York. He talks about taking the train down to Tuskegee in the book Soaring to Glory. And he's with his fellow recruits, white, black, he's with a group of them. They're all chatting, they're all hanging out, they're all having a great time on their way down to Tuskegee, Alabama.
It was mixed?
At the time. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because it's New York City, right? He's coming from, I think he was from Brooklyn or Queens. Either way, like super diverse boroughs, right? New York City.
Good job, New York.
Love you, New York. Right. So they're on the train down to Tuskegee, Alabama. And as it gets more and more south, Harry Stewart is realizing and noticing the attitudes that are changing towards him on this train as he's going more south, until the point where it comes up where the conductor is like, you, literally points him out amongst all his white compatriots here, all his white friends and recruits that he's sitting with, points him out and says, you, to the car for people that look like you. It's very pointed. It's very gross. And
did anybody stand up for him?
Because this is where we're at in Jim Crow America. Like someone could stand up for him, but the more south they get, his safety is on the line too. And it's also like, these are the rules and these are the laws.
Okay. So even if the other soldiers had stood up and said, nah, he's been here the whole time, fuck off, he could have still been dragged off and had a problem.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So it was just easier.
Could have been arrested or worse. And there's a certain point where you're like, is my life worth the argument? Is what happens, unfortunately.
Pick your battle.
Yeah. So the conductor was like, nope, we're basically south of he doesn't say this, but south of the Mason-Dixon line. Not that segregation wasn't something that was happening in a lot of places, north or south, but get on up there to...
Well, the further south you got, your life is probably more likely in danger.
That's where you belong. Right. Yes. And and he was like, whoa. Like, he was even like, I've dealt with racism. It's awful. It's terrible. But like this level, of like, wow, I have to actually physically remove myself.
We will kill you
places.
if you don't listen.
And
that's a whole other level.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So he moves to the segregated car, which happened to be right behind the engine. So Stewart arrives at his destination. His military uniform is filthy from all the soot and pollution from sitting behind the engine. So he is already arriving looking in worse shape than the rest of his white counterparts. He's dirty, he's filthy, because the cars might be separate, but they sure aren't equal. And that, unfortunately, is a common theme throughout the story of the Tuskegee Airmen, that no matter the uniform, the rank, the decoration, Black members of the military, not just at Tuskegee, were frequently experiencing all the racism, right? As long as they were in America. The first class of aviation cadets, nearly all of them were college graduates, began training in July of 1941 and completed their courses by March 1942. These pilots were trained to fly Tuskegee Airmen planes, including single-engine and twin-engine aircraft. They also received specialized training within meteorology, engineering, intelligence, and medicine, which ensured a fully self-sufficient Air Corps unit because it was segregated. Well, it was segregated, but there's still, we're going to go into that in just a second. It didn't have to be fully self-sufficient like the 6888. 6888 were a group of women who were predominantly Black. There's been more recent information that's come out where there are a few Puerto Rican women that were on the 6888, but predominantly Black group of women who were, they were like the male badasses. I know it sounds like, oh, they delivered the mail, no big deal. But if you don't, like, if you're a soldier and you're not getting mail, or your family back home is not receiving your mail, the morale plummets. And you can't have low morale when you're in wartime, because that is one of the single most things to help pull people to your side, right? If you have low morale and you're like, I don't even want to fucking do this anymore. Like, my mom does not know if I'm dead or alive. Like, I haven't gotten a letter from my girlfriend in 6 months or more, like things like that. That crushes the spirit, and you can't have that. So the 6888 were a predominantly Black group of women who came in, sorted huge backlogs of mail. They were amazing. It was bad conditions to begin with. They were amazing. They sorted huge backlogs of mail. They were expected to take like a year and a half. They did it in like something like 6 months. I'm pulling this out of my back pocket because I'm drunk. But I love the 6888 folks. Oh my gosh. I've not seen the movie on Netflix, but like, I hope it's good. But
you should dedicate an episode to them.
I really should. They were so amazing. But for them, they were fully self-contained. So all the women were not only like working on the mail, but they were also in the motor pool. They were the nurses. They were the cooks. They were everything, because they had to be a fully self-contained unit in the Army. And I'm like, girls, what? And not only did they do their job, but they did their job at like an extraordinary level that I was just like, nice work. I should watch that movie sometime. Anyway, all that to say, the Tuskegee Airmen were a self-sufficient unit, but they didn't have to be fully self-contained, right? So that is like an important thing to mention. Also important to mention is that of the 16,000 Tuskegee Airmen trained in Alabama, approximately 996 of them, so nearly 1,000, were airmen. Of those airmen were pilots, and out of them, 352 were deployed and fought in combat. The term Tuskegee Airmen applies not just to the pilots, but everyone involved, from pilots to ground crew to instructors and technicians. It also includes Black and white service members, and both men and women. So to be called an original Tuskegee Airman is a very all-encompassing term. It's basically, if you were trained in the Tuskegee Air program in this set of years, whether you're Black, white, male, female, boom, you are a Tuskegee Airman. Again, segregation is going to happen more and more as the war goes on, especially as they come to Europe, and they end up eventually becoming an all-Black fighter group. Though the first class of aviation cadets had graduated in March of 1942, it wasn't until over a year later, in April 1943, that the 99th Fighter Squadron deployed to North Africa in April of 1943, flying P-40 Warhawks. Later, they're going to get their iconic P-51 Mustangs and their P-47 Thunderbolts. So, like,
so many cool names.
There's so many cool names, right? And I was going to say, like, every country that had like a formidable air force / Air Corps, they all had their plane. So America was like the P-51 Mustang, as well as the Hellcat, the F-6F Hellcat. I have to look this up here. The Wildcat, the Lightning. So America had a few planes. The Mustang seems to be like the most recognizable or the one that you're like, yeah, that one. Japan had the Zero. Germany had the Messerschmitt, which was very formidable. And then Britain had the Spitfire, so there's a lot of planes in World War II that are very like iconic.
Messerschmitt. Messa is knife.
Messerschmitt. I know because, it's a very knife-like sort of plane. I'll put a picture up here for people who want to see it. But a lot of these planes had a similar look to them. These fighter planes, they're fast. They're zippy. They can turn and quick and they're maneuver and stuff like that. And that's the whole purpose of them, is to be able to be zippy and pew, pew, pew. Now, the 99th is there. They're there. They're kicking ass. They're running their missions. They're doing a great job. By 1944, the 99th was then joined by the 100th, the 301st, and the 302nd Fighter Squadrons. And together, they all formed the 332nd Fighter Group, which, as I mentioned just a moment ago, becomes an all-black group. Now, if you've seen the Lucasfilm movie Red Tails, the 332nd had the tails of their P-51 Mustangs painted red once they began their missions of escorting bomber planes for identification purposes, but honestly, it just seems fucking cool. They're the Red Tails. It seems like you want to say something. I'm going to take a drink of wine.
No, I was just saying, like, represent. Like, it's cool. Like, I kind of find that people in underdog stories, they tend to rally around, like, a little symbol of themselves, Like, I mean, I don't know why this movie came to mind, but that Lords of Dogtown was talking about the skateboarding kids who started getting into in-ground pools and stuff. Like, everyone always kind of rallies around a symbol for themselves or whatever, I mean, it is only correct that they have a symbol is basically what I'm saying.
Yeah. No, I think that's cool. Like, and the Red Tails, there were a bunch of different groups, but the Red Tails were specifically, the Red Tails were particularly good at what they did with escorting bombers. That they were requested by bomber squadrons. They'd be like, can we have the Red Tails escort us? Because they had such a good record, There's a story in Soaring to Glory that I'm pulling this out my back pocket, so I'm going to get this a little bit wrong. I don't know if it was actually Benjamin Davis, who I was just speaking of earlier. I'm not sure if it was him, but one of the officers actually painted on his plane by request or something like that, by request, the 99s or something like that, or whatever, the Red Tails.
That's amazing. What a flex.
Yeah. I was like, ooh, I love it. But that was, that was the thing. And I would imagine that if you're a pilot or part of a bomber crew, seeing the Red Tails next to you must have been like, oh, thank you. And not to besmirch any other group, but the Red Tails record is particularly good. Holy Toledo, what a group of fantastic folks, the Tuskegee Airmen. And yes, it was indeed Benjamin O. Davis who wrote By Request on his plane. And not only that, it was actually the name of the plane. In the picture I showed of him earlier to Katie, he looked like Denzel. It was his Denzel picture. But as I looked at more pictures of him, I'm actually going to trade out the casting for Blair Underwood. Anthony Mackie would be Lieutenant Colonel Harry Stewart. And since I mentioned Michael B. Jordan in the recording but didn't say who he would be, I would cast him as Roscoe Draper. That's just my personal opinion. And actually, Michael B. Jordan was in the movie Red Tails playing a character named Maurice Wilson, who was not a real-life person, but rather a composite character. So there you go. And hey, thanks for being here and spending your time in the smoke circle with us. Can I ask you a little favor? Please, please, please. I absolutely hate asking for help, but if, and only if, you're enjoying yourself and the history that you get from Katie and I, would you mind following and subscribing to our little show? Thank you so much. Would you mind also leaving a rating and review for us and or sharing this episode or your favorite episode? I mean, we have 107 now of them to choose from that you can share with others on social media or with your friends and family. We know that you're busy and have things to do, but it would be a tremendous help to our little indie podcast so we can grow and also keep the lava lamps on here in the Smoke Circle. If you're already a fan and want to help in an even more direct way, we have a Patreon called the Best Buds Club. Over there, we have bonus episodes, historical movie nights, early release for our regular episodes. Your support definitely helps keep the lava lamps on over there, but it also helps us offset the annual costs of operating the show. We would love to grow our best buds so we can add High Tales of History merch and more regular special content just for you guys. That's patreon.com/High Tales of History. All of our social media and Patreon are linked in the show description, so follow us. All right, announcements are done. Thanks for listening. In part 2, I'm going to pick it up with the combat missions of the 332nd Fighter Group and also the myths that surround the Tuskegee Airmen. So with that, let's puff pass it on to part 2. Let's get into it. So they were primarily known for their missions escorting bombers, but this isn't the only mission that the Red Tails had. According to Daniel Hallman, our doctor of Tuskegee Airmen, basically, the Tuskegee Airmen flew 311 missions for the U.S. Air Corps between early June 1944 and late April 1945. Only 179 of those 311 missions were to escort bombers. Also, another popular myth that arose during the war and also really deeply persisted afterwards was that in those 179 escort missions, the Tuskegee Airmen had never lost a bomber. That's the big myth around them. They've never lost a bomber.
So that's not true.
Not true. But they still had an amazing record and average. The truth wasn't really fully uncovered until years later when in detailed analysis, again, I'm pretty sure it was by Dr. Holman, found that enemy aircraft shot down at least 25 of the bombers that they escorted. So they lost about 25, but I don't say that to take away from their achievements.
Out of 179?
Right, 179 escort missions, 25 bombers were shot down. And
so 159 made it.
Well, they could have had multiple bombers per escort mission.
Oh, that's true.
So just to put it in perspective, this was a much better success rate than other escort groups of the 15th Air Corps, which lost an average of 46 bombers. So nearly double.
So half. Yeah.
Right. So I don't say that to take away from their achievements at all. In fact, if anything, the reality is holy shit, that's really
even
amazing.
More impressive than the myth.
Yeah. You don't need a myth to say how awesome these folks were, right? By the time the 332nd flew its last combat mission on April 26th, 1945, which is 2 weeks before the German surrender, the Tuskegee Airmen flew over 15,000 individual missions, shot down, now again, you have to take these numbers with a bit of salt here, 112 enemy warplanes in World War II. They had also destroyed or damaged 36 German planes in the air and 237 on the ground, as well as nearly 1,000 rail cars and transport vehicles, and heavily damaged a German destroyer, as in a warship.
Wow, yeah.
They did all right. And
they
one
did
group,
a lot better than all right, yeah.
And in all, 66 Tuskegee trained pilots were killed in action during World War II, while another 32 were captured as prisoners of war after being shot down, such as Alexander Jefferson, who lived to tell his story. Years and years later.
What happens to a Black American who shot down in Nazi Germany?
It's a good question. I can't speak for everyone, but Alexander Jefferson does say in an interview in 2011 with NPR, this is in my sources. So if you find the NPR source, that's where this is. He does say he was treated as a gentleman and an officer under Geneva Convention.
I thought, okay. Nazis
so no
don't
crimes.
Okay.
Right.
Nazis don't like Black people though, right? I'm not getting that wrong.
I mean, Nazis don't really like anyone unless you're blue-eyed and blonde hair.
Amen to that, dude. Right? Oh God, that's so true.
All the fun out of everything. You know what?
Fun suckers to the max.
To the max.
Yeah, that's true.
But
even if you were German.
Experience.
Okay, so they were pretty all right. Well,
Yeah,
hey,
that's his personal experience. I can't speak.
I don't wish a bad experience on him. I'm glad it went
right
as well as it did, because it could have gone a lot less not well.
Yeah, in 2011 he was there to talk about it. So thank goodness for that. I mean, they're badasses, total brave souls, the whole lot of them. And that's one individual story. And, and there are amazing individual stories of bravery and service throughout the Tuskegee trained individuals and all throughout the 332nd Fighter Group. I liked the book Soaring to Glory because it recounted not only Lieutenant Colonel Harry Stewart Jr.'s personal experience, but also some of the others who served with him. So you got like a more like in the boot sort of experience of like how he felt through all these things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. In an interview with NPR, Hiram Mann, nicknamed Gremlin by his colleagues, love it.
My friends call me a chaos gremlin. I don't know if that counts, but
all the same. It's in the same grouping. His life was saved by this weird twist of fate. He flew 48 missions during the war, but the base flight surgeon wouldn't clear him and some of his squadron mates to go back so soon, because a lot of these folks were doing like double duty. Were flying far more missions than some of their white counterparts or other groups, full stop. Like, they were like really like their turnaround time, I should say, was
so they're doing twice as much work
in some cases
and getting half the rest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the base squadron, the base surgeon was like, no, chill and rest here for a little while. And so someone else was tapped to fly Boss Lady, which was his plane that he named in honor of his wife, which is cute. Boss Lady.
I love that.
And so Hiram sees this change on the duty roster. And he says, quote, well, they scratched out my name in pencil and his name above mine to fly in my place. And he said, they've got me scheduled to fly your plane again. Is that okay? Well, what are you supposed to say? No, you can't do it. Yeah, it's okay. End quote. But Boss Lady never returned back to the base. Her pilot killed in action. So here a man was like, whoa, like if that was me in that plane, I wouldn't have survived. These are a lot of like, everyone has their own very personal and intense stories and their experiences throughout this. So if you want to get more into that, I would say Soaring to Glory is good. Also, my article from MIT has a couple of personal experiences in them. But like everyone in war, they all have their very personal experiences, but there's a shared experience that happens across the board. I liked Soaring to Glory. I also liked having Dr. Holman's work alongside because it can help like fact check some things. Because
resident expert.
Yeah, because the memory can change over time, as well as like memory is also fallible. I don't mean to say that to like
shit, dude, I don't remember anything. So yeah, I get it.
And I don't say that to like besmirch anyone in their service, right? Not at all, or their experience or whatever, but just to help like keep a pretty set record. So it was nice to like be able to check against like a book like this or his misconceptions about the airmen. And it was like really great to fact check against all these different articles. And again, I don't say that to take away from the amazing bravery and achievements of the men in the 332nd or even the greater story of the Tuskegee Airmen full stop and Black service members, but also just to, the historian in me wants to keep things as straight as possible. But also that
tell it how it is.
Right. But also like the Black members of Tuskegee and the greater American military, their excellence in service and combat, despite all the systemic racism and harassment they experienced, is amazing enough without the embellishment. Like it almost cheapens it. You know what I mean? Like they did amazing things as it was to show that they were just as good as anyone else. They don't need like these like little sprinkles of embellishment on top of it.
Right.
Also, the historian in me is also like, please don't do that because that's not.
Yeah, because it's a blatant lie, basically.
Right.
But I mean, man, I feel like it's so impressive when you step back and think about like how crap Black Americans have been treated throughout history and that they're still willing to go out and serve for this country. That's, I mean, that's takes a level of selflessness and an ability to see the world beyond your own horizons that a lot of people lack today, and is not just commendable, but is kind of amazing.
I'm glad you bring that up, because that's something I thought throughout this entire story of just like, well, I'll talk about it at the end too, but just how amazing exactly that is. Systemic racism, I mean, yeah, of course, they experienced that all throughout their lives before and even after their service in the military. A lot of Tuskegee Airmen have a very similar story when they're recounting their homecoming. They're all coming together off the ship. They're coming back from Europe. They're walking down the gangplank. They're
I think
expected
I
to be
remember this. Yeah.
heroes, right? You know, or at least people that are going to basic human decency, respect them and what
Cheer
they've done.
that,
Yeah.
yeah,
Hey,
and that they came
thank
back
you.
alive.
Thank you.
You
right?
went to war
You went to war
in
for us.
another
Thank you.
country across an ocean.
Yeah. There's a smarmy faced white sergeant at the end of the gangplank. And the second these gents' boots touch American soil, this man is saying, quote, and there's been a couple of service members who have recounted this exact story. He's saying, whites to the right, N-words to the left. And that's their first experience when they get back home.
Some things never change.
Like, I've got like nail marks in my hands from just like fucking hate that so much. So for a lot of these veteran pilots, again, I mean, you come back, like how abrupt and awful and shitty that is to hear that the second you're touching back on American soil. You know, like a lot of them realize like, oh, my freedom is up in the sky. You know, and so a lot of them tried to stay in the military as long as they can. Harry Stewart is one of them who tried to continue on in the military and be a pilot, and he was successful with that for a while. But a lot of the airmen tried to then become commercial pilots, and nobody would hire them for decades.
I was going to say there's no way they got hired. Okay.
Nope. Across the board. This is true for Harry Stewart as well as when he checked in with other veterans. They were all like, yeah, no, same thing for us too. Now, of course, since some of these airlines have been like, hey, we want to recognize you as an honorary pilot for Delta. Ding.
Yeah, now.
But not in 1961, you know, when I was trying to get hired on.
Right. Struggling to feed myself, had just served this country, so none of y'all are speaking German and serving Hitler, and all you have the common decency to tell me, you racial slur to the left. All right, thanks for that. That really checks out. Really glad that I spent all that time, effort, and possibly my life on that.
Right. Yes. Yep. I'm right alongside you, Katie. Quite a few veterans went on to work jobs like elevator attendant or manual labor. In fact, Eugene Bullard was
where they could get hired, basically.
An elevator attendant. Yeah. Doesn't matter how big of a hero you are or what you've done for.
We should have sent him over to France. They enjoyed more rights over there.
Well, Eugene
a lot
Bullard,
of Black Americans emigrated over there.
Yes. Yeah. And Eugene Bullard is actually one of those examples who is like one of the biggest names in aviation, especially military aviation, but also one of those names that comes up during like all the badasses of like 1920 Parisian scene. You get Josephine Baker, you get Ernest Hemingway, you get all the artists, you get, you know, like all these folks that are like, oh, we're in Paris in the 1920s, jazz, and you get Eugene Bullard, who knew all of them and was fucking cool as shit. But then he goes back to his country, or his country of origin, I should say. And they're like, right, elevator attendant, that's the best we can do. Thanks. Bye. Anyway, so 7 years after the civilian pilot training program began, President Harry Truman changed the Army's policies by signing Executive Order 9981, which ended segregation in the United States military. The service and the achievements of the Tuskegee Airmen and other Black military members, I'm sure, point to the fact that they were just as good as anyone else. On March 29th, 2007, more than 300 Tuskegee Airmen, again, all-encompassing term, includes the pilots, the ground crew, the technicians, they were collectively awarded a Congressional Gold Medal at a ceremony in the U.S. Capitol Rotunda. In a moment that stands out to many of the airmen, then President George W. Bush said in his speech, quote, "I would like to offer a gesture to help atone for all the unreturned salutes and unforgivable indignities. And so, on behalf of the office I hold and a country that honors you, I salute you for the service to the United States of America." And he stood at attention and he saluted them and he made eye contact with every member down the line who, they're all older gentlemen at this point, older folks, stood up and saluted him back.
I just got emotional.
I cry. This is the first time I've not burst into tears every time I've had to like write or hear or like recount.
I was tearing up a little bit. I was sitting there, I was like, woo, suck it in.
And folks, don't get me wrong. W was not my favorite president.
No, that's why, like, you said that. I was like, whoa. I was like, wow, what a... Listen, I'll give credit where credit is due. Right. However I feel about you, if you do a good deed, I will not let that go unpunished.
Exactly.
But like, oh my God, like, wow.
Yeah, I know. That was a moment that I was like, ooh, because a lot of these airmen had said like they would salute white service members and they would not get saluted back. And I was like, what a slap in the face and how fucking disrespectful that is. So the president of the United States, decades later, then stands in front of them and says, like, this is for all the times that you weren't saluted.
I want to make it clear here. It wasn't that there weren't any white service members that saluted them back. It just, there were plenty that did and plenty that didn't.
Woof.
Don't cry.
Dude, I was like tearing up. I was like, all right. I was like, oh man. I was like, come on.
It's so deserved. It's so deserved. I mean, exactly. I'll give credit where it's due. W is not my favorite.
No, that's deeply emotional, dude. That's like,
he did good in that moment right there. And even then, 2 years later, in 2009, the surviving Tuskegee trained pilots and support crew were then invited back again to D.C. to attend the inauguration of the nation's first Black president, Barack Obama, in which the then president said that he stood on their shoulders, once writing, quote, "His career in public service was made possible by the path heroes like the Tuskegee Airmen trailblazed," end quote. Right? So these are like big watershed moments. Fan the eyes.
You said this was uplifting. I mean, it is, but also like all right, well, you didn't cry at the end of my story, so
I love that cat. I'm also nearly an entire bottle of wine drunkard. So
I'm not, and I'm still getting emotional.
Ooh, I would when I was completely sober. I was listening to this and I was like, I was listening to Soaring to Glory when it was, this part of the story was talked about. And if I'm getting this right, so please don't take this as gospel, but if I'm recounting the story correctly from Soaring to Glory, when Lieutenant Colonel Stewart is talking about this, I think he said that the president then like made sure he didn't just like stand behind his podium, but like came out, boom, right in front of the men and like saluted them. And
I've seen the picture.
Yeah.
As soon as you started talking about it, I was like, oh, I know.
And he like, says that like, regardless
like every single one, right?
Yeah.
Like he goes down the line. Yeah.
Looks at him like, this is for you. This is for you. And it's said in his book that like, regardless of anyone's mobility issues or like anything like that, everyone made the effort to like stand as best they could. And they saluted him. And I was like,
woof.
Feelings. Wow. And then the road was all blurry and I was like, history makes me feel feelings sometimes. But then, but then again, like 2 years later, they're seeing the first Black president who said like, you are my heroes. And I'm like,
yeah,
whoa, waterworks
made possible by you.
Yeah. Like,
and that's true.
That we can do
that is true.
Anyone else can do. Yeah. You showed him, you proved it.
Like, I was also going to say like how important, all right, suck it in, Katie, you can do this. How think of how many presidents never acknowledged them before that. And then, like, to have that, like, think of how special that moment was to them is what I mean. Regardless of who the president was, that doesn't fucking matter. It's about the recognition to these heroes who served a country that didn't fucking care. Gonna put that out there. Obviously, saw them as disposable. And yeah, so I mean, on both counts, like, a very special moment for them and very deserved.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. I don't know why I said thank you, but I'm like thank you for hearing what I'm trying to like convey into the world.
Yeah. I fucking hear you, champion.
This story is amazing. These service members are amazing. And this is just a small sample, right? Like the Tuskegee Airmen are an amazing but small sample of other Black and it's just minority service members, right? It could be women, LGBTQ, Indigenous, Asian, anywhere across the board of people who have been like, yes, America.
We've got lots of stories to tell, though.
Mm-hmm.
We got lots of stories to tell about all of them.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, at any of these events too, just to show like the legacy and the power that the Tuskegee Airmen had, at any of these events, there would be all kinds of people, like long lines of people, whether they be veterans, active duty military, civilians alike. They've all wanted to get photographs and autographs and hear the stories of the famed Tuskegee Airmen. The Tuskegee Airmen helped to tear down the race barrier in the military and inspired generations of young Black Americans, such as Brigadier General Stacey Harris, the first Black woman to command an Air Force flight, cited the Tuskegee Airmen as her inspiration. Unfortunately, as of the recording today, this is Friday, September 5th, it's hard to know who's still alive. Unfortunately, Harry Stewart.
The year of 2025.
The year 2025, the year of our Lord 2025, the year of our Cthulhu 2025. Harry Stewart, who I mentioned a lot, he's the co-author. Well, his story is Soaring to Glory. He passed away earlier this year, and he was considered one of the last remaining members. As of March 2025, retired U.S. Air Force Colonel James H. Harvey III is the only known member. As of March.
Yeah, we're so far out from World War II that very few veterans are left from it. So yeah.
And they're all like at least 100 years old. I mean, it's amazing.
At least, yeah. Easily.
Mm-hmm. So to wrap things up, folks, as a theme that we've been talking about throughout, it's really important that American history remembers the Tuskegee Airmen and other minority service members like the WASPs, which were the Women's Air Force members, or the Navajo Code Talkers, or LGBTQ plus members, and really work to not erase their achievements and contributions to the country. Not because anyone is better or worse or this or that, which is, I think, what the current administration is trying to do is they call it DEI and they say it's woke and let's erase this history or warp it in a way that makes them not seem as worthy or as good or as whatever, right?
Giving people their due does not diminish anybody else.
Yeah.
Nobody is diminished. High water raises all ships. And celebrating an American hero, regardless of where they come from, what they look like, what their background is, the culture of their family and all that, it doesn't matter. And that is truly what, like, I mean, I'm not going to shout out and put that slogan out there, but that is what makes parts of this. Ask anybody who's immigrated here and feels very patriotic about this country. What will they say? Well, what's so great about America? They'll be like, it's fucking America. Like, have you been here? Like, they feel so strongly about it, which for me, as someone who lives here, I'm like, how can you say that though? Like, look at everything that's happened, and I can sit, because we're passionate about history, I can point out all the wrongs it's done, but
sure,
it's the, that pursuit of life, liberty, and happiness, I think is what is so special about America to everybody, no matter where you come from. It's a tough thing to say right now. I'm going to be honest with you. As an American, I have a tough time here. There's parts of me that I wouldn't feel safe to say out in public to people. Like, I've gotten to a point where when I went grocery shopping on Labor Day, I got outrightly hostile people because my hair was a certain color. wild. It was just wild to me. I was like, wow, I always thought America is a place where so many different people of so many different backgrounds can come together and make something great, which is us sharing in that. And
that's
what makes
America
it special.
Great. Yeah. I
didn't want to say it, so you go ahead. But yes,
well, that's
that is.
It's
that
like,
truly
it's not
is.
a red hat. It's not a blind loyalty to a party or a person or this like sick ideology of like this nationalistic view of like America looks a certain way. And you know what? I think loving America is also holding her accountable. You know, it's like a friend,
like being a good parent.
Be a good parent. You're like, I want the best for you, and so I want to make sure that you recognize
doing right.
and right your wrongs, and like are showing up
fix
for the people
mistakes.
who fix your mistake, and showing up for the people who will literally put their lives on the line to protect you and to hold you up and your ideals and your dream, and like so. Again, like when this sort of history, that's why I really wanted to celebrate these sort of groups this season. These groups of people who have we've actually watched their history get erased and then maybe changed, then maybe put back up, and maybe like the fact that their history is getting fucked with in the first place is something that I have a big problem with.
It is un-American.
That's un-American, and these groups of people have showed the fuck up and put their lives on the line for a country that, historically speaking, has never really stood up for them. Like at best, they've disrespected them. At worst, there's been genocide for these groups of people, or
plenty of like,
them. But still, they believed in their country and they signed up to give their service, knowing full well their service could mean their life. And they proved that skill and bravery are not defined by their race and their skin color. Folks, the Tuskegee Airmen
sure isn't.
What a bunch of fucking badasses. What a bunch of fucking badasses the Tuskegee Airmen are. So I'm going to highlight a few more stories this season of folks like that who are just fucking cool and contributed great service to America. So, especially as their history is trying to be erased. So thank you, Katie and Smoke Circle, for joining me in all of that. I appreciate you. We're going to be back in a couple of weeks. You can find us on social media. We've got all that listed in the show notes, Instagram, TikTok. We're on Patreon. It's the Best Buds Club, and you can hang out with us over there. But we'll see you in a couple
weeks. Come be
a
history slut.
Come be a history slut with us. But you can see Katie again in a couple weeks with me. In the meantime, folks, get money, get high, give love, and
listen, where you come from and what you look like doesn't decide who you are. How about that?
Love it. Thank you, Katie. Thank you, folks, for being here.
I got you, champion.
Love you. Bye-bye. We'll see you in a couple weeks.